guess who's back? Back again. Axel's back. But we won't be playing as him because we have our beloved Beefy Boy now. Yeah, get fucked, Axel. They didn't half churn these sequels out in the 90s, didn't they? It took them a few months to turn this around, obviously. After the success of Streets of Rage in 91, of course they were going to do another one. But despite the obvious cash grab nature of Streets of Rage 2, it sits comfortably as the best one in the series. But why? Well, first of all, there's been a significant jump in visual quality, and look, we were all graphics whores back then. It was the primary way in which new games were advertised to us. We couldn't help it. The sprites are larger and more detailed, the environments are more varied and have more unique features and fewer repeating elements, so the overall presentation felt even closer to an arcade experience of the time. There's also a more significant variation in gameplay styles between the increased number of playable characters. So White Guy and Girl Guy return from the original and represent a kind of central normal gameplay style, albeit split between being a bit stronger or a bit quicker, respectively. But then you've got Beefy Boy and Skater Boy, providing a more extreme deviation from that middle in terms of having an ultra powerful and slow, or an ultra fast and weak approach, respectively. All the characters get a new suite of unique moves too, so each time you play through it can feel like a substantially different experience. Skate can run and torpedo guys, Max has a cool floor slide, Axel has a multi-hit combo, and Blaze has a powerful forward cartwheel, for example, and each of these are more or less effective against different enemy types. And these moves are necessary to a degree because the Karens from HR have been onto them and told them they can't fire heavy ordnance into populated areas anymore, killjoys. So there aren't any screen clearing special support attacks this time around. Instead you get a more traditional super move that drains a bit of your health, more like Final Fight. It's worth mentioning too just how of its time this game is. We've talked previously about how big a craze the wrestling was in this period, so just dumping a full-on WWF wrestler in his wrestling gear into a game about fighting through the streets of thugs is very 1993. But Skate actually might just be the most era-specific character ever created. Named after his single defining characteristic, Skate exists because rollerblading was at its absolute peak in 1993. Roller skates? No, that's so 80s, man. Rollerblades. That's the 90s. That's now. That's hip. You took a roller skate, basically, and put all the wheels in a single little straight line, more like an ice skate, and suddenly you had an all-encompassing obsession for adolescents and teens in the mid-90s. It's one of those really daft things that we should never have imported from America, because it simply didn't work outside the US. It's all well and good watching footage of people speeding along sun-drenched streets and roads in California, where absolutely everything is tarmacked, but the streets in the UK look like this. So the 90s were full of young people in insanely brightly coloured t-shirts and shorts, essentially walking timidly along the streets in rollerblades. I was fortunate though, I had the Plaza in Tynemouth. That was one of those wonderful arcades we've talked about previously, where you could play Simpsons and WrestleFest and G-Lock upstairs, as well as having the odd game of pool, but then downstairs they had a roller rink. Congratulations, by the way, if you're one of the girls in this photograph, because it seems you are in the only existing picture of the Tynemouth Plaza roller rink that exists in the world, or at least easily searchable on the internet. I only know I haven't made this whole thing up because of this here. I remember my dad used to take me on a Sunday, and it was really dark in there, and they played really good music like a sort of kid disco, and it was genuinely the only suitably large area of smooth floor in the entire region where you could actually use those expensive skates. Aside from just pushing yourself from counter to counter in your kitchen, which obviously I did. You could also just sit around the outside of the rink, drinking the most disgusting off-brand cola and or lemonade you've ever had in your life, after you got knackered after 10 minutes of skating, you know. Great times. Another way you know Streets of Rage 2 is of its time is that it's batshit mental. It really goes off the reservation in the middle, ditching the more grounded and realistic street brawling with thugs, in favour of magic invisible ninjas and literal aliens. Actual aliens, as in aliens from the Aliens franchise. Not sure exactly how they got away with that one. There's no explanation, of course, aside from cocaine, and there are signs later on that they maybe had started to run out of ideas. Even by 93, the lift or elevator level had become a bit of a trope, and there are no fewer than 4 of these in this game, which by the 4th one is really testing your patience. Some nice details from the first one are also missing here, such as the horizontal swing of the large melee weapons. Now you actually do have to be in the same horizontal plane as the enemies for those attacks to connect, which is a bit of a shame given how impressive that first one was in that regard. These are small niggles though in a game that overall eased the difficulty down slightly and hugely increased the speed, visual presentation and variety to give us a game that still remains one of the most fun experiences you can have with a side-scrolling beat-em-up. Streets of Rage 2 is comfortably the best of the series, and easily here on the 121 best games of all time.